Hey gentlemen, so dash. So on our last crypto room for my premium clients the night before, I warned that this would be a nice breakout for us. The following day we caught the early part of the move here. In this image we were largely already long. Some of them may have got on only the following day. You should have been in the trade anytime after this level was run. We had a little dip back, 711s. You could have got back right into the 7s, and I think it even dipped for a second below 7. But 7s for the long, and we're looking for 9s to be run, even though the targets are in around 89.3. So that was the original draw. This is where we're at now. So I'm going to go to a larger chart because it had a big shooting star and a pullback. So it's been hunky-dory, but let's have a look at it in more detail, because it's like anything, it's not always just been plain straightforward, but it's been a lovely breakout generally. So that's the pattern. This is the very tight funneling that you get in a volatility squeeze, with a slight upward drift and then back, feigns through the shooting star H3. There's a bit of defense there for the low 3, feigns through, holds a level, and then off we go. Note, after running the second interim, we get a wind up setup that boosts, that gives you a target. You get a falling wedge there. You might be battling to see some of this, so I'll drop a time frame. So we are following through Dash. Dash was a number of times the trade of the day on Polynex. So this is HVF method getting you into the most attractive one of the day in that entire exchange, and I think in almost across all coin market caps. So a couple of images for you on that. That's not the one. Let me find the correct one. Couple of images for you on that. Let me just check where we are with this one. Here's an example for a trade of the day. Some of these I've tweeted out in and around 20%. I've just sorted it according to change of the day, so a lot more on the lower levels into the negatives. Of course, you can see that scroller bar. So it is a great strategy that puts you into the strongest breaker. Note that wind up in more detail here. For the second interim, the push up, the falling wedge. That's what I was talking about. This sell-off was consistent and maintained for a while, but it was never absolutely capitulative. So it had gone up, melt up quite a bit quicker than it's gone down. There was one fairly ugly candle there, for example, that's coming out of a falling wedge after a rally. So it's kind of taking back the rally and made a lower low hammer. We have traded up a little bit. This is a decent rally, so this points to the possibility of further continuation. So for those that aren't on my premium blogs and won't have known that we were in Dash until, you know, it had already moved quite a bit, for which the risk reward fundamentals are different, this is a free idea for you in essence. Possible chance of a pullback here. If it's not too abrupt and frightening, relatively moderated, it might become a good value buy here. We could be getting a wind up continuation. Hey, we could not as well. It doesn't have to be. This is just probability and scenario casting what might have been, in the same way we said we expected that there would be a break. We did get the break. It stopped shy. It went melt up a little bit too soon for me in terms of the target placement, so it was always going to be difficult to go up that rate the whole way. It could have, but I mean, at some point it runs out of puff. So we stand by the target. At most, you do a little bit of trimming if you're a bit nervous. Check that you haven't done your draw right. If you've done your draw right, you should be at least half the position still on, and possibly more, apart from maybe a little bit of light defense against it turning into a fail, because otherwise it's complied very, very well. So if we get this, what the meaning behind this is, if we get a low 2 here, after that high, and we get another high 3 and another low 3, we get a continuation pattern, as you may in fact get a boost to your target. What does that mean? It just means that this amplitude for this down leg that we've received can be projected somewhere from the midpoint, and you may end up with a higher number. So going from 8 9s literally just being run to 9 2 2s. So, you know, it all adds up and it's a little bit of a boost. And as you get close to a target, sometimes you get this geometry that gives you a little bit of extra. So that's my take for those. That's Dash. So that's been our primary trade from our Basecamp guys that have been enjoying that, and largely we still have good holdings in that, and we'll be watching to see if we're going to get targets beyond the 9s, as I've illustrated here. What else? Ethereum continues to be the weak, relative weak chart. Stay well away, in my opinion, if you're not already in. I think there's a chance of a proper sell-off if we get any crypto weakness where Ethereum will be the biggest faller. It looks very bloated, and indigestion seems to be the order of the day after biting off an immense amount in terms of its appreciation. I think, you know, this is probably done more than Cisco at its highest point, etc., etc., etc. It has extreme revaluation on the upside, so it's only likely that it could have a period longer than people think is comfortable of relative underperformance. So how badly do you want to be a believer and sit through that? Well, if you're a hodler, hodl on. But Ethereum is not a chart that I would be wanting to sit into. So while I battle with TradingView and it's deciding what it wants to do with me, I have too many charts. We'll take a look at one or two other things. So Ethereum BTC, just to illustrate, we'll finish with Ethereum. So this is my comment on Ethereum. Let's actually show you a chart, shall we? If things will play along. So this is my scribblings from a while back. This was my low road for it to crash. That was my high road towards recovery. In other words, for it to rally up to these funnel levels. It's followed more closely, but yet less abruptly, the low road option. This looks like a scribbly mess, and it is, but it means something to me. And what you're probably finding are these are long grind lines that just keep going and going. There's another grind line right there that it's on the verge of letting slip off. It's taken 3 candles to get there. Quick selling starts to come in, 1 candle back down. That remains a seller's market at the moment. So lots of grind lines. That said, it's not been capitulative in terms of how it rallied here, but it is given back 80-90% of that spike up over a sustained period. So there is an overhang of wannabe profit takers in Ethereum. So it's a messy chart. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I need some of these lines, and some of them are just scribbles for the 2 scenarios that we drew from here. That was warning that this would then be underperformance, and that's pretty much what it's done. And the bull scenario, we always draw both. It's simply not complied to. It's not got enough buoyancy and a nice high at this previous level. So Ethereum looks bloated and full of indigestion. So what else do we have for you as a quick wrap round? So I'm looking at Tether, Bitcoin against Tether. That's on the bigger exchanges. That's Poloniex. And I'm seeing a wind up here with a break up to the upside. So Bitcoin to be strong for me. And by the way, this is all taking place on a funnel entry that we called already that Bitcoin is in a breakout. So no one else thinks it's in a breakout. It's done a slow motion break. It's run a key level. And this is going to be heading up. In other words, for me, the indecision about Bitcoin's future is far less opaque than Ethereum's. And I think this Bitcoin rally may save Ethereum a little bit from being an absolute spiller of a seller. So I think we're going to get a amplitude from here, and they're projected from here. And we are on the very point that we called for as our H3 level. So this is our H3 level for our setup. So what's happening? You're winding up with the H3 level running straight through your pattern like that, which is very typical HVF method behavior. So it's recompressing the spring to get a bit of kinetic energy to get away from there, and it's absolutely standard practice. And we have a first interim that we'll have run. I'll do it just geometrically for you really quick. That's roughly your midpoint, and this is a very rough draw, but you'll see that I suspect that this wind up will take us through that first interim. So there. So go watch the YouTube clips on Bitcoin is in a breakout, and essentially we call that from the point that it was actually crossing the funnel here as it's set up. This was a nice little primer setup that squeezed it, and it actually feigned and break. It's classic behavior. Falling wedge back in, rally back out. It's now got a ledge on here. Note how it's supporting all here now on the hammers. So what was going through the middle of the price action is now serving as support. And if you take that line there, you will have, I suspect, a projection that will bring you quite close to that first interim. So if that's your H2 there and that's your L2, I'm pointing with the bottom of the line, the midpoint will be somewhere here, and this is your interim run. So Bitcoin for upside, certainly better hold than Ethereum at the moment, if you're liking the majors. And I haven't looked at Ripple for a while. I don't want to go past it again. It's been largely flat and relatively boring, but I think Bitcoin will be the biggie of the majors. We like Dash, as you've seen. We think there's a bit more. Litecoin's not bad. I think it's falling wedge. So it made a target at 21. We had a target at 21 on an HVF there on Litecoin. So just show you recent events. This is what you've all missed by not being part of the community, I'm afraid, guys. So if you want to see this on a bigger time frame, you can see that setup. And so it's in a bit of a falling wedge stroke descending triangle, a little bit like that. Actually, I could have done a line like that, but we drew that. In fact, it's going to take me longer to draw. It's better just to show you in the Crypto Sniper base camp where we operate from. But Litecoin, LTC, BTC, there it is. Let's get to that chart where we did the draw for you. That was our falling wedges draw over here, where we said it would go up. Falling wedge, rising wedge, falling wedge, pop up. And that's exactly what it's done. Falling wedge, rising wedge, pop up. There we're showing you as it's happened. And have I put the HVF draw? I've done it in another forum, so I haven't even found that which I wanted to show you. Sorry, it's a bit being a bit disorganized at the moment. Litecoin, you'll have to check it on a trading view then, but this is the setup that gave us 21 over here. This setup over here gave us this 21 high, and by the way, it's just shy of that. It looks like all-time high for Litecoin. So there was a nice setup that ran from here to there and gave the 21. We did a political license and we left out the wick, which was a look one way high vol day, and we got a 21 target, which was roughly here. Now a little bit of a pullback falling wedge. I think it's going to be strong for another press up slightly higher. I think that likelihood is we'll run a new high before we relax a bit back. So prepared to hold Litecoin for a bit longer, but ready to get out. It's not early doors anymore on any sign of weakness once we've probed a little higher. But nice falling wedge over there, more of a falling wedge than the descending triangle that I've drawn with that other key level. So that's a little bit of an update on that. I think we'll get a pop. In fact, when I said that was after the hammer, we did get a pop. You get a return move, a little bit of maybe of a sell-off down, and then possibly that move. If we make a new high or we get round here, maybe time to be a little bit lighter on Litecoin. So for me, the favorite holding is still to be ready for Dash. Excuse that flashing chart. It's quite irritating. We will get Dash until we through the 9.2s if we get that wind up. Okay, so a couple of run-throughs there. Charts weren't playing entirely ball the whole way through, gents, so apologies for that. But that's our take on some of the majors. Don't like Ethereum, do like Bitcoin. We'll switch to Bitcoin after out of Litecoin and Dash after Dash has run target and Litecoin's had its pop. as a safe holding. Think Bitcoin's going to be relatively strong, staying well clear of Ethereum. That's the summary. I hope that's useful, and catch up with you again soon. Trade safe, or be active investors in a safe manner, and see you on the other side of the weekend. Enjoy. Thank you for your support. Sharing is caring. I appreciate it if you